Tibby, sit. Good.
Okay, we should be good to go.
We
Hello,
are.
everyone.
Hello. No, we're done. More. Um, so welcome to Conservation Conversations. My name is Ambassador Tiberius. Over there is Ambassador Wyatt. We are here to talk about all the spoopy things. We are here to talk about. No, sir, I don't think so. The night. So, all the
Yeah.
spooky creatures of the night. Thank you. Including things like owls and bats. And the two, I'm not even going to lie. Thank you. Bats are my favorite.
Yeah, bats pretty cool.
They're awesome. Um, so yeah, Mr. Paul.
Hi. I'm Paul, the mysterious voice in the sky, taking care
She's
of
gonna eat
all
a
the.
caterpillar.
Oh no.
Buddy. I know, but as soon as I go to grab it, he's gonna be like, "It's my caterpillar."
Is it one of those like the hairy black ones?
It's a brown and black one, and I don't know if those are the bad kind.
All
So,
right. Do you need me
I
to come
mean,
out there and help?
no, I think it should. Hi, buddy. Okay. I think they're distracted enough and they haven't seen it. So,
Okay.
I know. Oh,
Just just pretend.
I know.
Just
Oh,
pretend.
God, gross. Oh, God.
They're very excited for you to be outside right now. And
They're very happy.
the weather
Hi.
is nice and
I
cool.
know. Hi,
We're down into
buddy.
the mid 50s.
Okay, yes, got it. Excuse me, ma'am. No. Um, so yeah, I guess Paul, take it away while I deal with hyperactive happy pups.
Okay, so the creatures of the night is what we're talking about today. We're going to go over some things about bats, and we're going to go over some things about owls. Looking at their myths, the legends, and the impacts that those have on conservation, and maybe bust a couple of myths while we're at it.
Are we Mythbusters now?
I think we might be busting some myths.
We gonna bust some
Um,
myths, Tibbs?
so bats are often linked to like vampires, and like owls are seen in some cultures as omens of death.
Yeah.
Um, partly partly due to their nocturnal lifestyles and like the eerie noises that they make when it's dark. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of these myths has contributed to misunderstandings and fear of these creatures. So, why do you think bats and owls became
Here.
associated with darkness,
Yep,
fear,
I know.
and even death? And how do these
Ooh.
perceptions impact our attitudes towards these animals today?
So you're not even hitting me up with like warm-up questions. You
No,
are
no.
straight up asking the hard questions.
Yeah.
So, the last conservation conversation we had, we went over it a little bit. Darkness and the unknown. Um, that can always be kind of spoopy. And we were specifically talking about uh, in the forest or the unknown in dark woods, right? So
Yep.
I think part of that has to do with equating darkness to the unknown or fear of the unknown, and then also equating um, bad omens, like you were saying. So, like death and dying, dark, fear of the unknown.
Yep.
Um, and then with bats and specifically, we started talking about as we were doing research for this conservation conversation. We got into the mythos behind vampires because of vampire bats, which please remind me of the scientific name again because it was fantastic and now we have a name for one of our dachshunds.
Oh my word. So the scientific name for a vampire bat specifically
Mm-hmm.
is Desmodus rotundus,
So for
which,
Norma, that is Potatus rotundus.
yeah,
Fat
Potatus
potato.
rotundus.
Um, but seriously, so vampire bats, they do feed on blood, right? Normally of livestock, they do eat insects and whatnot too. However, we have this whole, oh, thank you, buddy. Oh, I know, but I'm trying to talk. I know. Okay, only you. I understand. They have this whole link to vampires, right? And vampires are scary, deadly, dark omen, bad omen. So there's this whole mythos about shapeshifting into bats and wolves. So
Yeah.
it is this, uh, centuries of mythos that are animals. So we talk a lot about and we talk a lot about the impact that this has on or our folklore or mythology, but we don't really touch on the other species. But no. Okay, thank you.
So excited to see you.
He is feeling real good today. Okay, okay. Let me just sit. He's gonna sit right here. For what you guys don't know
There
is
you go.
Tibby really likes to sit down on my lap. Oh, my hand is gonna get you. I know. So touch on the same, right? So, like I said, vampires are hi. No, no, no. It's still a no, buddy. Is this treat bag going to be a problem for you the whole time? Is it because it's turkey sausage today? You sit. No. He's so mad.
He's so upset over this bag.
He's like, I'll give you paw, I'll do a sit. So he really wants his turkey sausage. We're working on duration earlier before we started filming. So working on some of his behaviors and increasing duration of those behaviors. Oh, I know, thank you. I'm explaining the behind the scenes. So when it comes to that fear of the unknown and that link to historic, like folklore, really?
She's just nibbling your shoulder.
She has the likes to bathe my clothing when it does not meet her standards. she'll nibble.
Little nibble.
Yeah. So I think it's really cool that, well, not really cool. It's maybe a bad way to phrase it. I think it's neat that we are seeing many in mythos that have survived so many years, but the downside to that, there's negative implications. So for bats, we look at them and my immediate thought, and there's a story behind this. So my immediate thought is rabies.
Yeah.
Bats do carry rabies, and they're active known carriers. And the issue with bats, because they do feed on other animals, they have contact with that bloodstream and saliva, right? So if they're carrying, it makes it really easy for them to spread that disease. And that isn't myth, that is fact. So that is what I think of is that negative fact about them, but there's also a ton of positives associated with bats. So natural pet repellent, so they do eat plenty of insects, which do help crops. And you'll notice that a lot of heavy areas or agricultural areas, there are farmers that put up bat boxes because it helps protect their crops from insects and disease. So I thought that was really cool. But the reason I'm so terrified of bats here is because once upon a time, uh, I was out with Tibby and there was a bat that decided to fly too low into this enclosure, and Tibby jumped up and snatched it right out of the air. And our animals are vaccinated, but believe it or not, rabies vaccine, I believe, only has a 70%.
Oh
He
wow,
snatched
I
this
didn't know
bat
that.
out of the, yeah.
I thought it was guaranteed.
It is not guaranteed.
Okay.
So I was having a moment, right? Freaking out, thinking, oh my God, he snatched this bat out of the air. Now it's a high value thing for him. So he's looking at it and he's going, this is mine now and you can't take it. But I ended up him to go inside. And then by the time I came back out, the bat had flown away, which is great.
Yeah,
I'm happy
yeah,
he
nice.
didn't kill the
It
bat.
wasn't killed. Yeah.
Like I want it to go about its batty existence and have a good life.
Yep.
But me for that. They're fantastic at pest control. Hi, are you just petting your belly right now?
So from
She
what I
is,
have researched, it is not every bat that has rabies. It's
no,
1% of bats
yes,
carry rabies,
yep.
which is not 0%, and therefore every bat you have to assume has, if you end up with direct contact with it, that you have to take the precaution necessary.
Oh, it's the same for raccoons. Like I don't paint bats in a bad light. Raccoons are also rabies carriers. So, I mean, any animal potentially could, but for the animals that we coexist with and encounter in the wild, I think that bats have the bad rap because of all of the that do surround them. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
from my perspective, you just said 1% of bats, total population, carry rabies.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's what I think of immediately because of all of that um, negative PR that they've gotten, right?
Hmm.
So, and then I'm focusing so much on bats because I love them so much. But there's also owls, and so owls for me are not synonymous with bad omens. They're synonymous with alien encounters. So
Oh.
extra spook. Buddy, oh, you want bets? Okay. So, did you
Hey,
ever watch the
Fuegos.
movie The Fourth Kind?
The
What?
fourth cat. I have never seen it, actually.
I have failed.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I've
bud.
never seen it.
So
Fuegos is
the
saying, what I hear is Batman has a 1% chance of having rabies. Yes.
yes, that's great. I'm gonna steal that. Hello. Oh, butt sketches. Okay, buddy. I am current the baby for him.
It's funny for owls how far back the mythos for them stretches, like all the way back to Greek and Roman times. And there are some funny similarities throughout history on what people do with owls. Um, there's one case of people in ancient times they would nail a owl to their front door that had already died, in order to repel all the bad things it had done. Essentially, it's like a reverse omen. Yeah, and then all the way up into medieval England and like the UK, they did the same thing. They would nail owl to their front doors to ward off evil. Oh, you okay? Yeah, he is. Hi, Amy. He'll. It's all. Yeah, it really is. The don't escalate approach. Oh, your microphone is no longer working. Something happened. Nothing. Thanks. Thank you, Amy. Nope. Nope. No, we lost you. Hold on. Oh, Amy, thank you for turning up. This was working at one point. It was working just fine. Something must have got knocked. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to come back in here or no? Oh boy, the joys of technology, everyone. These things work perfectly fine for hours before we start and then proceed to stop working. Okay, 1 second.
I don't know what happened. Is it working now?
Yeah, no, it's working just fine.
Oh, it's because I needed to come in the house, apparently. All right. So I will head back out.
So I'm not 100% sure what happened there, but I think that was the signal dropped for the wireless because we obviously can't have wires inside the enclosure because
What?
they're wolves and they will take any opportunity they can to fixate on something that is attached to you. So they would take those wires. Um, Cyber wolves. Yeah, yeah, they want implants and augments.
You
All
want
right, Mike.
implants and augments, Tibby?
Yeah, he wants laser eyes.
Tibby, here.
Wolves with freaking lasers.
Good.
Okay, so mic check.
Hello. Boop. Boop.
That seemed to come through loud and clear on my end.
You can hear me booping the snoot.
Tibby 9000. Yes.
Come on, bud. Hi. Okay, I'm back. Ready?
Give me your
You want
treats.
stories? He's mad because I left the treat bag out there this time. So he's like, but that's bullshit. I know. What did I do? I left your snacks out there.
So
Is it
I
'cause
have
you were
one really cool
obnoxious?
fact about vampire bats that I want to share.
Sure.
And it is to do with
Thanks, Scoochies.
the
You want
saliva. So the
This
anticoagulant
one?
that they use when they feed
Thanks,
on
Scoochies.
animals. Do you know what it is called?
The anticoagulant that they use when they feed on animals.
Yeah.
I got no good guesses.
All right. Check this out. It is called Draculin. And it's actually been adapted. It's been adapted for medical use as for stroke victims.
That is crazy.
So they actually collect vampire bat saliva enzymes that are called Draculin and then apply them to people in hospitals.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently we're just full of bat facts today.
Sorry.
Um,
Okay. We'll skip over more bat facts for now and go to
no, I was going to talk about owls because when I think of owls, I think of alien encounters. And it's because the barn owl has that white dish plate shaped face, right?
yeah.
Um, and if you read up on any kind of cryptid or alien encounter, look, I'm a kid who grew up on unsolved mysteries, so there was always alien encounters. But a lot of folks will point to an alien encounter and say, well, you encountered a barn owl or you encountered an owl of some sort. Because what they describe is a being that has that dish white
Okay.
face.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, um, but then like you look at the fourth kind, and in that movie, owls were kind of the omen for aliens. It was really weird. Hi, hello.
Yeah, like I say, I've never watched that movie, but that's on the list now.
I'm
I like how
sorry.
good Wyatt's being. She's just chilling. Tibby, on the other hand, is like, you must pay all the attention to me right now.
He is. And to be fair, I have not been able to work with them a whole lot this week. So they are definitely feeling it today. Um, sorry, guys. So yeah, I think that that's really cool that that's what I think of. I don't think of nailing owls to my door. I think that's so weird that we have done that historically.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but
Romans
yeah,
started that.
I mean, yeah, that's crazy to me. But I think it's super cool that um, my take on owls is completely different. And then we look at they've served the same purpose, right? Like they help population control for rodents because that's their primary diet. Um, so they're incredibly important to balancing that ecosystem or those
Yeah.
biomes that they inhabit. But in all honesty, I'm not sure people who look at owls as a bad omen, though. I think that some people may get
Today?
creeped out by the sound they make, but in modern times, I don't see a lot of folks thinking that owls are the bad guy. Not the same way that we think of bats.
For sure. So I think owls in particular benefited from the study of them in a scientific aspect. It kind of demystified a lot of the myths surrounding them, where it has like uncovering vampirism in bats really kind of solidified them in pop culture with like Bram Stoker's Dracula and like all the bat mythos and stuff coming up because like having a diet that's all blood based is like that's just kind of cool and spooky. So
I mean, it
yeah,
is, but do you see owls having saliva modified to use in surgery or with humans?
I
Like
do
that,
not.
I think, is a really cool fact.
Yeah.
But it still begs the question they're beneficial now to a human population in more ways than just pest control. And I think that it's nuts that we still look at them and have this negative perception.
Yep. It is. It is it's wild. And it is perpetuated by just the media that we consume in the modern age and the myths that we all grew up with and Oh my god, he is just being the most perfect, like, love me. Look at him.
Okay, okay, I'll stop laughing. I'll stop laughing. He's mad that I'm laughing. I know he is. I shouldn't anthropomorphize him, but it's just they got such a personality, and I know what he wants. So instead of having my undivided full attention, I'm laughing at him, and I feel like he takes that person. Where he wants sketches and attention. Be gross. You bit it. Thank you. And it's a time of season too. He's gonna gross. No. He's gonna start to get a little extra. And we say that because he's starting to experience a hormonal shift in the season.
Yeah.
Wolves breed once a year. And while Tibby is intact, so he still has his testicles, they are no longer operational. He had a vasectomy last year. So he is no longer able to create tiny Tibbies, but he does retain all of those hormonal changes. So he's starting to puff out and get his winter coat. And then he's also starting to shift hormonally. So his attitude's just going to be a little extra, a little heightened. And Wyatt, in about a month or two, she's going to start exhibiting all the love me, love me, love me.
Yeah. Yeah, for owls, I feel like there's I maybe missed the boat on owls being a spoopy creature. I've never associated them with much. That, like, I know they're a nocturnal animal, and like hearing them at night hooting is so cool.
I
But
feel
I
like
would.
that's a treat. Like
It
I never get to
is.
hear them, and when I do, I feel like it's a special treat.
Maybe I'd
And
feel
I think
different
that
if I was out in the woods at night and not like,
could be. I
yeah.
also think that owls, they get more positive media association. So I was reading an article in researching for this episode that was saying that films like Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter series, that book series where they use owls as messengers,
Yeah.
right? There's a positive spin on those animals. Whereas if you are looking at bats, bats are still something that vampires can turn into. They're associated with spooky season like Halloween. They are associated with witches in some regard,
Hmm.
in some regard. And then because I really like bad horror movies, there are a couple of different movies that are centered around bats being the villain.
It's
So,
funny. It's funny that bats are associated with witches. Owls are also very heavily associated with witches. There are even some Native American tribes that use the same word for witch and for the great horned owls.
really?
Yeah, skilly. I probably butchered the pronunciation entirely, but it's the exact same
Oh,
word.
for sure. Like
Yeah.
I am positive that you butchered it, but I
Yeah.
appreciate the attempt. Um, so
Yeah. Oh, hey, Terry. Terry says that it's cool that you found a vet that would do the vasectomy. We actually
yeah,
were there in the
yeah,
back. It was awesome. We got to take video and pictures of the
yeah.
whole process.
So a shout out to Dr. Dave. This was at Augusta Animal Clinic here in
Yeah.
Indianapolis. Hi, I know. I'm talking about your vet, talking about your
Oh,
testicles.
big
I'm so
stretches.
sorry.
What is he doing?
He's giving me all the kisses. He's mad that I'm not paying attention. All right.
Terry says, I have a
So
low content wolf dog, and her
cool.
personality is definitely a bit different than any of the dogs I have known. I mostly love it. It is.
Oh, good boy.
Oh my goodness, look at him pose.
It's like a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, their
to scratch.
personalities are definitely different, and like the hard part with the varied content of wolf dogs is that it's kind of a mixed bag, right? It's a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're gonna get. Sometimes they display more wolf-like traits or historically wolf-like traits, and sometimes you're gonna get very domesticated dog traits. So, Tip and Wyatt are both high content wolf dogs. So they have what I would consider more wolf like traits. I have worked with wolves and wolf dogs for about 25 years or 22 years now. Um, and I currently work at Wolf Park up in Lafayette or Battleground, Indiana, with some of the wolves there. Um, and I would say high contents more often than not are just wolf in their behavior. It's very rare that you meet a high content that has more dog-like traits. Um, and we got high contents because I wanted to have that neophobic nature that wolves have um, that makes them wolves. I think that makes for a really good ambassador is that neophobia. Hi. So we can talk about their fear of humans, their fear of change, new things, that they're not going to come hang out with you or snatch up your wife or kids. They are definitely happy to stay far, far away from people.
Yep.
So, yeah, sorry, I got off topic here. I'm not even sure what your original question was. Like, this is the fun part about conservation conversations is we have some topics that we really want to go over and we research these topics, but they kind of go everywhere. We talk about all sorts of different things.
Yeah, the topics are really just a primer to chat about what like a subject and then things adjacent to it. Terry says, I know. I rescued her from someone who didn't understand her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
That's...
We find what is it, the 1 year mark when the wolves are suddenly no longer puppies?
Yeah, about 8 months to 1 year,
8 months?
8 months to 12 months, you have your first shift personality, and then you'll go through another shift between 18 months and 24 months. And then by the time you hit 4 or 5 years, you actually know what you're working with. And those personalities can change over time too. There have been plenty of wolves and wolf dogs that I have known that hit more geriatric age, senior age, and they no longer want to do some of the things that they've used to do without issue, or they no longer have a tolerance the way that they used to. So it really is dependent on the animal and on the situation. But both of ours, Tibby is incredibly social. He's a very social, tractable animal. So he likes to go out and he likes to on long walks. He likes to be at nature preserves. He likes to be out and about. He finds that, or seemingly finds that. So we encourage that for him. Whereas Wyatt is very neophobic. She does not like change. She does not like going out and about and being around people or being social, which is okay too. Like we have these animals so they can exhibit these neophobic traits, and they're definitely at different ends of the spectrum. Tibby is still phobic. He does not like lots of change, but he takes things in stride pretty well. And right now, he's very alert. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's a dog somewhere in the neighborhood that is barking and has been barking nonstop. And he's listening. He's a little bit more alert than he normally would be. And you can see that that does not faze Wyatt at all. She's She's pretty happy and content.
Yeah. But a car alarm that'd
Yeah,
get
if
them
there's
going.
the car alarm or a train, that is their howling trigger. Um, so yeah, back to owls and how cool they are. I was saying that films like Harry Potter, the book series Harry Potter, and other newer media has taken away any kind of mystery for owls. I think we still associate them with the night and like a spooky Halloween season, or at least that's what you see on Halloween decor most of the time is bats and owls and
General like
those.
twilight nocturnal creatures.
Hmm.
Owls definitely like for me it's definitely more witchy stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know why bats have not been given those same opportunities. And it may be because they are rabies carriers, whereas owls typically are not, right? So it may be that very scary threat of a rabies possibility. Um, because I can't imagine, like, we don't have the same innate fear of birds, like things that fly, right? Like we see a dove or we see an eagle, and we have different feelings towards those birds, right? Those flying animals. Um, so we look at eagles and we think majestic, or in the bald eagle's case, we think patriotism. But you look at a bat flying and you're like vampire. So
Yeah.
it really is, I think, and it's very difficult to shed uh, centuries upon centuries of mythos. Similarly to how we view wolves, right? Where it's been very hard to shed years and years and years and years of bad PR, even though wolves are a keystone species, right? So I think there's a car horn honking, and you can
I
see
they both
now.
like immediately kicked off.
A
I want to
woohoo.
riff off on your Harry Potter stuff for just a second. You know
Do it.
how Voldemort's called Hugh shall not be named?
Yeah.
So in the African country of Cameroon, owls are considered to be a source of such evil that they are not even given a name. They're instead only referred to as the bird that makes you afraid.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
they
there a
refuse
reason
to.
for that?
I haven't dug deep enough into it to give you a solid answer, but that like the idea that they can produce such fear in a culture as to like they cannot possibly give it a name and can only reference it as like this thing is wild, and it feels like that kind of maybe just a taste of how those animals were perceived back in the medieval or ancient like Greek and Roman times, of like you see one and it's like bad times ahead or really good times depending on where you are.
That's that's crazy. Um, like I said, never associated owls with anything negative. Always thought of them as being really cool, being really elusive, really neat. But also, that's how I feel about wolves, right?
Yeah.
That's why I do is I think that these are really important creatures, really interesting creatures, and I think it's crazy, that you have these negative perceptions of them when they're so incredibly important to our ecosystems.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's just trying to sort through reality and fact. That's always going to be a challenge, right? There's always the challenge of um, is one going to outweigh the other? And I think in the case of owls, for the most part, in modern day culture, they're not seen as anything super negative. Um, and I don't know what the future holds for bats, right? And same with wolves. So it's always a really interesting thing to me to see. Um,
It's really cool, and it's I feel like
oh,
more Western.
big
Um,
stretch. You got
oh,
big stretches.
Western media, I think, for bats is
Let's get
has
this.
kind of they've capitalized on this idea that they're, all they're spooky, blood-sucking, like they're all scary. What's funny is actually in Eastern culture in China, the bat is a symbol of happiness and good luck.
Hmm,
It isn't associated with negativity or scariness. It's happiness and good luck.
that's really cool.
So it just goes to show, like, same animal, obviously different subspecies, but same animal can be given good press coverage, essentially, or like be kind of given this really, really negative, scary association that can actually cause real world detrimental effects down the line where people, I can absolutely see people hurting or refusing to help these animals because they believe they are carriers of disease.
Yeah, it's nuts how we let these perceptions of these animals kind of influence how we treat them or the laws surrounding them, right? Um, I know we've brought it up before in conservation conversations, but seeing people just outright torture wolves is obscene to me. I don't know why anybody would ever do that to any animal, let alone one that I think, well, we kind of ruin it sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to be cognizant and aware. What time is it?
We have been live for about 42 minutes, and
Okay, cool. I'm making
we
sure.
have. Okay.
Making sure. So today I actually get to leave. Uh, I leave from here and I get to go back up to Wolf Park because we have our Halloween event up there. Um, so I actually get to speak on dire wolves and the history of dire wolves and the link or lack thereof between them and gray wolves. So that's going to be kind of fun. Did you just pee? You just peed.
Oh.
Thank you, bud. Yeah, I just want to be aware of the time because I do have to be back there for that event tonight. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I got a fascination with the spoopies, I guess, because I really love bats. They're cool. Um, although I was definitely not aware of a vampire bat scientific and was not sure of what the anticoagulant is. That was really neat.
Yeah,
Uh,
Draculin, so cool. Fuegos is saying, I thought Zeus had a messenger owl named Bobo or something. Mechanical and Golden. Is that not from Clash of the Titans? Back in like the 80s or 70s?
Maybe.
Um, it may that the movie may absolutely be based on real myths like that. Such a
Skids is. Skids.
yeah. Anyway, absolutely possible. Yeah. The Greek gods, so they definitely owls were huge in Greek and like Roman mythology.
So, in saying that they were feared,
And sorry, was that Greek or Roman? Because they
Roman,
so Romans, it was generally considered a bad omen.
which is
Um,
interesting because in Roman mythos, weren't flip or a dichotomy where you have owls being the bad omen, but wolves somehow being fantastic. Where
yeah,
in Western modern culture, it's almost the opposite. It just there's no official link or anything. It's just I think it's really interesting as time has gone on, um, how those myths and legends evolve or devolve into what we have in Western culture today?
So I think for Greek mythology,
Okay. Want more skitties?
the owl is much more favored, and it was a protected species and inhabited the Acropolis in like huge numbers. There used to be like a ton of wolves out there. Wolves, jeez, owls. Whereas with Romans, it was all negative. The hoot of an owl presaged imminent death, and it was believed that
Jeez.
the deaths of Julius Caesar, Augustus, Aurelius, and Agrippa were all predicted by an owl hooting before they died.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Well, especially because owls are nocturnal, right? So you don't see them during the day.
yeah, yeah,
So I wonder, I could dive into this subject for hours. I really could because I think it's super weird, super neat,
yeah.
just fun. Like this is what I love about spooky things. For those of you that don't know, Halloween is my favorite time of the year. Fall is the favorite time of the year. It's all the leaves I love. It's all spooky stuff that becomes super common to talk about. So I was really looking forward to doing our spooky sessions this October.
Yeah. Um, Old English folklore, like medieval folklore, is a mixed bag. It feels like a lot of it is for owls. It was all imminent doom, presaging death. Um, but they would also start using owl eggs, and like start actually saying that parts of the owl were actually really useful and really good. Um,
Hmm.
and like they would come up with like silly things, like if you followed an owl around a tree that it's perched on, um, it would follow you with its eyes until it wrung its own neck because of like
Okay.
the way that it can turn so far. It's just some
Very
silly,
interesting.
yeah,
So, uh, I know we were talking about before we were recording this, we were talking about things that we could potentially do or that people can potentially do at home or in their communities um, to help promote kindness and coexistence with these animals
yep,
that do play an important role in their ecosystems. And one of the things that I think is a super easy low lift are bat boxes. So, bat boxes are these little wooden houses that you can put very high up in areas that bats frequent and encourage them to nest there. Um, that is something that's actually really cool about Wolf Park is we have bat boxes throughout the park. We actually have an expert out to come look at the layout that we have and determine areas are to erect those boxes to encourage them to inhabit those areas. Um, for us, it is definitely seen as a natural means of pest control. So we try at Wolf Park to make sure that we are promoting coexistence and talking about native species and talking about how we can coexist with those species and why it's important here at the Big Bad Project. But we do not have bat box. A little bummed that we kind of missed the boat on that one. There's still time, but
there
I thought
is,
that
yeah,
was pretty cool.
yeah. There's actually a really good website from the Bat Conservation International that
Mm-hmm.
have a build designs for bat boxes that I can link in the chat.
Please do. And if I'm not mistaken, Bat Conservation National is based in Austin, Texas.
Oh,
Um, I think if it's the same one I'm thinking of, it might be Bat International Bat Society. There's one that's based in Austin, Texas, which is really cool because if you've ever been out that area in downtown Austin, there is a bridge that is famous for It's sunsets and dusk, because at that point in time you will see hundreds of bats leave their nesting area under the bridge and embark into the twilight to have snacky treats. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's some really nice pictures of that. And yeah, you were right. It is Austin, Texas, is where this the nonprofit
You're
is
welcome.
located. Very well done. So bat boxes are one way, and we know that planting more native species in the area is
Hmm.
also another great way to help benefit these guys.
Well, yeah, and another thing that we didn't touch on that I missed the boat on is that these animals are pollinators as well,
Yes. Yeah.
because they are eating these animals, and it contains different seeds that are transferred everywhere, especially because these are flying creatures. Um, so it's just a really fun fact.
Yep. Okay, we are at the 50+ minute mark at this point, so I think it's probably time that we should wrap up.
It is time.
It is.
All right. So for those of us who joined us today, and for those watching this recording in the future, uh, thank you for joining us for spooky season Creatures of the Night. Our conservation conversation month is really cool. We will be back next month. I don't know what our topics are going to be, um, but we'll be back to talk a little bit more. I will be pretty bundled at that point in time as the season changes.
Oh, I think next
Um,
time it's gonna be real cold.
it's going to be
Gonna be dipping.
freezing. I have to
Yeah.
figure out how to broadcast from inside where I can be toasty and warm and talk about, all these other things. Um, so yeah, have a fantastic, safe
I mean, maybe they would if you had a turkey sausage treat. Yeah. All right. Bye.